Hi there, what's up, family? Hope you're good wherever you are today. Today's video we're gonna be talking about something which I believe that it's very important, and especially it happens amongst us Black people. And majorly, I know this is something which is predominantly known in the United States and other European countries, especially where the Blacks are. And I feel like it's also important to have an African input on this because, such kind of things we also experience them here in Africa. I want to share with you the story about this African American. She's a bartender, and kind of she complains that black people doesn't tip people. And I also want to incorporate the reasons behind this because we have both blacks pointing fingers at each other. I mean, the server and the customer. This is something which also happens in our social setup, and I believe that we want to talk about them. So I want us to watch this video, and you're gonna tell me what you think in the comment section because I believe you also have something to say about this story. Let's watch the video and get something to say about it as usual. Please, I'll be waiting you at the back to say something important that I believe that you also need to hear and get an African perspective. Yeah.
Hella hate comments on my video where I said 80% of African Americans.
I feel like when you present a stereotype as a fact, you should at least have a study or evidence. Even though it may be your lived experience, there could be actual reasons why, which is why I did some research. And the fact that you're saying this type of thing and then there are racists in the comments like, yeah, I agree. It's just further making people look like, oh, black people don't care, we're cheap, we don't do this and that. Like, it's just feeding into the fuel of racism. So one reason that this possibly could be true is that waitresses and waiters, because they believe black people don't tip or are going to leave small tips, they're automatically treating them badly from the get-go. So of course they're not going to get a high tip or any tip at all because you're not providing good service because you automatically think, oh, black, not going to get a tip. And then again, it goes back to the way that they are being treated. If they're getting their food late, if they're being served in the back, which they feel like they're being treated badly because of their skin color. And then it should be so obvious about this. There's definitely an income gap in between white people and black people. So for you to expect that black people make less and to tip at the same rate as white people when we don't make as much money as they do is unfair. And they're tipping based on how they're treated. If you treat them harshly, of course they're not going to tip you or you're going to get a little tip. Another thing that this article was talking about is that a lot of the times there isn't a tip etiquette that a lot of us are taught. I know for me, I wasn't. And so that's why I was either tipping very little or not tipping because no one was like, oh, you have to tip 15 to 20%. And a lot of the times when you grow up in poverty, you don't go to places where you even tip at all. So you're not taught this etiquette. And again, in this little percentage, it talks about that we're not aware of how much you're supposed to tip. Because if you grow up poor, you're going to give little. Please do your research before spouting these types of racial stereotypes because there could be significant reason behind them. Uplifting our community, not giving racists fuel to further hate us.
Is it true that black people don't like to tip or don't tip enough? So the other day we went out to dinner with some friends. We didn't have not such a great experience dining. It was outside, it was cold, so we already had an attitude that we had to eat outside. There's no excuse for bad customer service. Now for me, even if I get bad service, I tend to at least tip about 15%. If it's excellent service, I'll give 20%. And that's just me because I've always felt that pressure of being a black person that we already have a stereotypical thing about we're not tipping. So I don't want that waiter to think that, oh no, here we go, he's not gonna tip. Our friends did not want to pay anything for the tip. I felt bad, so I left the tip anyhow, but I said, you know what, on the receipt we'll leave. Wasn't a great service, here's 15% anyway. Letting them know that even though the service wasn't great, we still tip. My friend said that was above and beyond. So I'm curious about what do you guys think about when it comes to tipping. Do you tip when it's a bad service as well?
Ha ha ha. I know it might not be a serious topic, yes, of course, but as usual, there are some underlying issues that we need to talk about. So I'm going to talk about my first point, which is self-fulfilling prophecy. So when a black American goes to a black restaurant, and there's this stereotype that black people don't tip. Maybe it's not a stereotype. Maybe it's something true which happens to people amongst us ourselves. So the self-fulfilling prophecy happens in this way. So when you go, you both customer and the server. So the server knows that the customer will tip them a little amount or will not tip them at all. So this will influence how they serve them. So they won't serve them as they expect, and this will lead to them fulfilling the prophecy of the customer. Customer knows that these people are not going to serve me well, so there ain't no reason of tipping them so well. So that's the number first reason as to why, because I think people do believe that bartenders in the black community, they have some attitude kind of, and a couple of people have been saying this. Even blacks amongst ourselves, we've been saying this, and this has spiked a lot of topics revolving around this issue, and raised a question where why do black people don't support black business? Well, I believe this might be one of the reasons as to why black people don't support black business, because a black person will say that I'm not going to that restaurant because those people are gonna give me some attitude that I don't wanna. So that I'd rather go to another restaurant, which I'm not getting an attitude, because they say that black people have attitude, and so also the people who serves these people will also say, oh, you don't tip, and so I'm not gonna give you that special treatment that you want, So I think this is an interplay between the customer and the server, the bartender, the hotel keeper, the manager, or any other person that you'll be meeting around that place. So there is a lot of dynamics in this topic that I think we need to talk about. Also, something that I later on came to learn is black customers or black people may not be aware of social norms, black customers may not be aware of social norms of tipping 20% of the bill, or they may have different cultural expectation of tipping. Well, I think at some point a lot I've also addressed this, because we have the 20% tipping, which is always there in the United States amongst the black people, and it's something not even amongst the black people, amongst the white people and the black people collectively, like the United States society. So, there's some things which we need to talk about that also comes in place. We have economical differences between the whites and the blacks. So it is naturally that you won't expect a black person to tip you same as the white person, because of economical differences. There is a huge disparity. And this is something that it's normally looked up to. And other things also comes into factor, like attitude, because some blacks are presumed to have some attitude towards their blacks, And so with this type of attitude, it creates that kind of tension. So you go to a customer who is black, they don't want to serve you, they show you some attitude. And as I've said earlier, I think that's one of the reasons as to why people don't support black community, because they complain of poor services that people from the black community give them. I mean, they are their folks, but they want that service that they want, So, I somehow tend to understand both sides of the story, but this is something that it's here to live with us. And I can't provide an immediate solution. The immediate solution that I can provide is let's just try to understand each individual. Let's try to find a way in which we can coexist. If you want to promote our black businesses, we need to consider some things, and I believe that one step at a time, and it will just be better with time. So let's try to understand each other. Let's try to understand and respect each other's business. There are a couple of things which always happen, and I'll also talk about black customers may have less trust in the restaurant industry or less sense of obligation to the reward servers. I don't know why we don't trust each other as black people. I mean, we should trust each other. I set up my business, I'm going to give you quality products, so you need to, trust what I'm going to say. I'm going to give you my African perspective about this. Now, my African perspective about this is quite different from the United States life, and it's also quite different with what most majority know. Now, we have places in Kenya where we also have white places where we have people who are white places, and now you find that where we have people who are white, where we have white people, these things are majorly, there are higher chances of them happening as compared to where people are black. I understand that there is an intersectionality also amongst black people, in Africa now. So in Africa, it's quite a different thing. But yeah, the same things happen. You're going to get some attitude if you don't tip well in some places, especially when you are in places where we have mixed races, whether it's in Africa or outside Africa. So this is something which is happening globally. It's not only in the United States, especially when you come to the cities, in African cities where we have different races, especially Nairobi cities are metropolitan, so you expect different people. We have Indians, we have Chinese, we have Arabs, we have whites, we have blacks, so we have a number of people inside our country. So with this intersectionality, you are prone of receiving such kind of problems, because there's this called an habit which is formed by people. So when you go to a restaurant where the customers are obviously they are used to being tipped, when you don't tip, if you go next time, maybe there will be some cold treatment, and yeah, kind of same. But majorly when you are outside, when you are not in the city, or when you're in places where it's entirely black, I don't think the same issue is predominantly stronger in those areas. So with that, guys, tell me what you think in the comment section. This is Eugene from Kenya, and on spot. The reason why I decided to wear these glasses is because lately I've realized that I'm developing some eye problem because of the ring light, so I've decided to protect myself. I'm not hiding from anything. Until then, let me see you in my next episode. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.